We are Tottenham until we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs diehards, heart and soul. We are Tottenham until we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs diehards, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs diehards, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs diehards, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. 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 We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs diehards, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. 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 Lily white and navy blue.
Hello and welcome to the regular Tuesday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID. Tottenham till I die. Hope you like the intro. There's plenty more where that one come from. I've made about 16 all different versions. We are experimenting. We like to keep it fresh. So obviously my taste won't naturally concur with everyone else's, but we'll see how we go with the music. Right, let's get into it. I'm going to introduce my co-conspirators because conspiracy theories are all the rage these days. So I'll start with Kev Clark. How are you, Kev?
Oh, hi, Adrian. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much. I was just thinking you must have had your pants pulled up really tight to get those vocals up that high for that one. And,
I've got some
but,
tea here. Well, keep it going, yeah.
no, I'm all good. I've got my my neck oil in preparation for next week. So and my reusable cup as well. So I'm there.
Oh well, you've got a like-minded soul to your left then, because James is partial to the odd tipple, aren't you, James? And how are you?
Assalamu alaikum. For those who aren't in the know, Assalamu alaikum means something in Arabic. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for having me on. Good to be on as ever. I personally am not a big neck oil fan. I think it's a bit of hippie beer. I think if you're going to drink beer, drink ale, because that's proper British beer. Not that lager nonsense. Utter woke nonsense lager is. But lovely to be on. Lovely to have a conversation. And let's talk about Spurs.
And my fellow co-owner of the channel, Ian, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, but I'm on the very nice single malt, a Glenfarclas I don't know what year, but it's double aged in oak and bourbon barrels. There's it was Dorothy Parker. I can't remember what it was she was drinking. Maybe a martini. She said, "I like a martini. 2, I'm under the table. 3, I'm under the host." And one of these is actually enough because it's about, you like that one, James. It's I don't know, it's 57% proof. So you actually do be careful because otherwise you start slurring your words and what have you. So I'm fine. I'm impatient because I want to see some signings, but we can talk about that. I've got some knowledge about what's going on, and it's just difficult. It is just difficult. But I mean, I know that the club are trying very hard, but it's not easy.
I'm on the dandelion tea, so don't mock me. No?
Dandelion tea.
We got the health aficionado here.
Listen, I do like my red wine, and they say it's good for you, but not the amount I drink. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I've just got it. I mean, instead of we are Tottenham till we die, it's I drink dandelion tea. Anyway, sorry.
Don't give up the day job, Ian, will you?
We'll say hello to the chat before we start. Right, okay. So we got Milton here. Good evening, Milton. Down from down under. Simon Small is a friend of my real life friend Brian here, who's below here. Good evening, Simon, Brian. Roger Maltz, good evening. And audio, good evening as well. We've got 30 viewers viewing us on various platforms. I'm sure that will go up in time as it usually does. So we're going to start. We didn't really cover this in totally Sunday. We're going to have a brief chat about, get it up, Newcastle 1-1. Right, okay. Kev, 4 minutes. Johnson again, ole, deflection. He's got a knack, isn't he, the kid?
He certainly has, and that was another tap in for him, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he was in the right position again. Clean strike. Yeah, got a small deflection which helped it past the keeper. But you can't knock him. He puts them in, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. And James, he's got his Welsh flag out now, so he's obviously going to give us some Brennan Johnson love. Come on.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, ultimately he was in the right place at the right time, and the vast majority of his goals last season were him running in the back post, or him being in the right place at the right time, much like Raheem Sterling, for example. There was a small part of me, well, perhaps a large part of me, that was quite worried under Thomas Frank, who plays a much more pragmatic style of football, that without that system geared towards someone tapping in the ball at the far post, Brennan would struggle. But, that shows that he can, still be quite pragmatic and still score goals. Even if he's not the kind of guy to open players and beat a man, he can still be a lethal poacher, which every team needs, I think, right? Like, Jermaine Defoe was more of a poacher. He's still a good finisher. Maybe he's not necessarily a starter anymore, but he can still play a crucial role in our season, I feel.
He stepped up, Ian, didn't he? From the 5 goals he got in the previous season, he stepped up. Has he got a higher ceiling, do you think, or not? Are you a fan?
Yeah, I think he does. I think, look, we bought him and we immediately played him outside right in a 4-3-3. And it's not his natural position. His natural position is that, do you know that Greaves behind Chivers, or, the little man behind the big man, floating around in the space where the 10 normally plays. And, I don't like this obsession with numbers. I'm not sure, and it's one of the things I was going to mention later when we talk about what the team for Thursday might be, is I'm not sure exactly where Johnson's going to fit in now, because Kudus is clearly going to play wide right. You would think that Tell will start left. I'm not sure now with Maddison's injury who's going to start central. Maybe that's a role for Johnson, but we don't have an orthodox centre forward at the moment because Solanke's injured. So I'm assuming that Richarlison is gonna start. I'm not sure quite how he fits in. I'm genuinely not sure how Johnson is going to fit in, other than perhaps a stand-in for Kudos. But there is a bottom line: is this man keeps finding the net. He does keep finding the net. His goals and assist record is the best in the club. So I got to worry. I just got to worry about how it's all going to come together tactically. I know these people know what they're doing, and I do have faith that they will. I'm just a little bit. How do they do it?
I have to say, as much as I love Brennan Johnson, there was a big discussion in a Welsh football chat, and there's a big conversation about why does Brennan Johnson look so average for us when he's scoring 20 goals for Spurs. And I said, well, that's how he looks for Spurs all the time. I don't think I've ever seen a player who so consistently finds the net or gets goal contributions who doesn't look brilliant, if you know what I mean. Like Gareth Bale, for example. Even if he wasn't scoring or assisting, you knew he was some player. Luka Modric, Moussa Dembele. Never got that many assists or goals, but you knew he was a player. Brennan Johnson's one of those guys who you think, is he a good player or is he not? Oh, he scored. Oh, he's won us the Europa League. Oh, he set up 2 goals. And you think, is he actually a good player? I mean, he keeps getting all these goals and assists, but he never seems to do anything other than get those goals or assists. And I do wonder to some extent, because he's still young, he's still only 24. He's only a couple of years younger than I am. Older than I am, rather. And you do wonder under Frank, maybe his role will transition a little bit. Maybe he'll play behind the striker. Maybe he'll adopt a slightly different role. But yeah, no, he's a bit of a weird player in my eyes. Maybe he hasn't quite found his correct sort of role and position. But yeah,
it's very similar to how some of us were talking about Kulu being on the right all the time, and he shouldn't be on the right, and maybe he's better in the middle. In that respect, it could be something like that. And just Lisa, I was very tongue-in-cheek when I was saying tap-ins. I hope you know.
Yeah. I don't it was a 25-yard pole driver, Lisa. It may have been deflected, but it's one of those, if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle. And he had a whack from 25 yards that found himself in the bottom corner. Sorry, go.
Yeah, I've warmed to Johnson. I mean, before I even come to the club, I looked at videos. I wasn't convinced. I didn't want him, but I've warmed to him, especially like that first season to get 18 goals. And I wonder if he'd have had so much criticism pointed at him if we hadn't finished 17th, because they're only talking about his work rate. You can't criticise him for not scoring. So if you've got 18 goals and we finished 7th, I don't think anyone would be complaining about him. I think it's just because we had a crap season, league season. But,
there's always people to complain. Don't matter where we finish, does it?
Yeah. I've seen a few comments in other shows on this. Ian, Harvey Barnes.
Well, I was going to say, before you move on, Adrian, is that Thomas Frank's system is very much based on power and strength and fast running, on the counter-attack. You look at people like Wizard and Wemo, big men, physical men, fast men. Johnson doesn't have those attributes, so I'm not sure.
I don't think Thomas Frank necessarily has one sort of style. I mean, when his team that got promoted from the Championship, keep in mind it took him 2.5 years. They played a possession-heavy 4-3-3. Then when they got promoted, he switched to a back 5 rather. And they completely changed their style of play. Then in the more recent seasons, they played a more possession-heavy style sort of system in the Premier League. Yes, it perhaps doesn't fit in with his traditional Premier League sorts of play, or even his Championship styles of play, but, he was playing the football he was playing because he sort of had limited resources, limited players. Yeah, great players like Ivan Toney, perhaps. I mean, he's in Saudi Arabia. I mean, he's betting 10 quid on me to say a swear word in this stream. He had all sorts of players, but I do very much think he's the kind of manager to work around with it, make a system for his players rather than say, this is the system, you have to fit into it. And even if he previously had a sort of system that wouldn't fit Brennan Johnson, I'm sure he will find a role for Brennan Johnson in one of his systems, even if that is as a substitute, as a impact player, even if it's in a unconventional sort of midfield role. I don't see him necessarily being a starter for us long term. I do see him being an important impact player, or even in a sort of weird wing back midfield role. I can see him providing a lot of value for us.
Well, we're talking about squads now, aren't we? So people think if he's stuck in the starting 11 groove, I think, but we're talking about squads. And he's not shy to step up when two players are having a bit of a bust up and he steps in. He runs over. I've noticed he's done it on more than one occasion. Seems to be up for the fight. All right, let's move on to this, because I heard comments in other channels. Harvey Barnes 1-1, Kinski beaten at his near post. They say, oh, goalkeeper should never get beaten at his near post, but Kev, this was a hard shot, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
It was a cracker. Cracker of a shot. I mean, a keeper shouldn't be. Every keeper's beaten at his near post every now and again. Even the greats, even Jennings, I remember him being beaten at the near post. It's hard for a keeper. They always get blamed. Everyone thinks they should be saving these shots, but sometimes you've just got to give it up. It was a cracking shot.
Yeah, I agree.
All right then.
He was. Yeah, he played well, Barnes, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ian, you were a referee. This infuriated me. Joe Linton elbows Gray in the face.
I just changed the spelling of it. Yeah, the refereeing was a bit iffy.
A bit.
Look, I'm not going to get my knickers in and not over friendlies and what have you. In the old days, if a player committed an offence, you would just signal to the bench to change him over, and that's what would happen, rather than flowing around cards. There could easily have been 3 or 4 red cards in that game. Romero had a go at, how do you pronounce it? Guitars? What's his name?
Guimaraes, whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah. There was one outside the box, but then when he came into the box, Romero took him out, which would almost certainly have been a penalty, probably a yellow card that the referee missed or chose to miss. So, I seriously, Joe Linton's got history with us. We know that. Yeah. Look, I just don't get too worried about incidents like that in a so-called pre-season friendly. And when the league starts, we've got VAR to deal with that now. Well, anything that goes on off the ball and the referee misses. So, we had a couple of bits that were maybe not saint-like, shall we say? So. Our players are. At least we got players that can mix it up now. So, yeah, I'm not over bothered about it.
I mean, I will say, even in the Arsenal game, I have never seen so many people upset. Because obviously we beat Arsenal, and Emery doesn't like to call friendlies. He prefers to call them tests. Which I mean, yeah. Anywho, we beat them in that test. And I've never seen so many Arsenal fans so upset over a decision, an officiating decision, because obviously Saar scored that brilliant goal. I've never seen a club more upset about nonsense. But look, it's pre-season. In regards to Kinski, look, he perhaps made an error. It was a great shot. It happens. I mean, I remember when we played Borussia Dortmund at Wembley, and Weidenfeller, the Borussia Dortmund goalkeeper, let in, I think, 2 at his near post. These things sometimes happen. Kinski is a really young goalkeeper. Kinski's younger than I am, and he will make errors every so often. It's a learning opportunity for him, perhaps, if you know what I mean. It's not like Vicario is making these errors and we have to go in with a first choice keeper making these sorts of errors. He's our backup keeper. It's a learning opportunity for him. I don't think we should worry too much about it. Like, unless our goalkeeping coaches are saying, "Oh no, don't learn from that." Of course, they're going to learn. They're going to tell them to learn from that. So it's fine. It's a friendly. It doesn't matter. We beat Arsenal, guys. We beat Arsenal.
Your dad's in here. Your dad's in here, standing over you like Marinakis over MGW.
Yeah.
Hello, Spurs fan John. How are you? Yeah. Okay. The elbow. I mean, there was just no need for it. It was deliberate and it was spiteful because there was no need for it. Okay. We've had some
Yeah,
good
no,
performances in this game, so we're
no,
not
I mean-
going to spend too long on Newcastle, right? But I picked out 6 players I thought were good. The others, even Romero was off it and all that, but
I thought Spence was superb, personally. I thought he was really good. Really strong, really brave. I thought his forward play was really good. I honestly think Spence is probably our best fullback, even over Udogie. I just every time I see him, I like him more. I've never seen a Spurs player since perhaps Gareth Bale or Moussa Dembele, maybe, who I've just seen gives 110%. Just like every time he's battling for the ball, you can tell how much he wants it. He gets the ball and he fights for it. I just love Spence. Sorry, I'll hand off to someone else.
Kev, any particular player that stood out for you?
Porro. I mean, Porro, I think is going to really come into his own. I think this season, even more than perhaps he has over the past couple. And looking at Danso, I mean, it was Danso's tackle that led to the goal, wasn't it? And I think with now having, if we got Danso, if he's playing, he might not be starting, but if we've got him, Kudus, and Polina now crunching into those tackles and the ball breaking free quite a lot, we could find quite a few sort of breakaway goals from those sort of tackles that are coming in. So I think Danso had a good game. He's obviously better on the right than he is on the left, I would have said. And I'd say the same for Spence. I think Spence is better on the left than he is on the right. In those positions, Sarr, another good game. I thought Gray probably had one of his best games for us when he's been playing in the middle. There were some great runs from him, some good passing. And he looked more at ease, not having the responsibility of being the man sitting in front of the defence, to be honest.
Ian?
Graham and Brett, I'm with you guys. I thought Gray was. I mean, I actually put something on one of the Twitter chats about Gray, and I think there are so many idiots, and they are idiots, who said, "What a waste of money." You buy an 18-year-old who's been really excellent in the Championship. He's seen him dominate Chelsea 2 years ago as a 17-year-old, and say he's a waste of money. The boy's going to be an exceptionally good player, in my view. An exceptionally good player, and I can see him playing in the 4-2-3-1 alongside Declan Rice before long. In that England side. I mean, I'll say this: I'm not actually sure what Jude Bellingham does in the team. He scores a good goal, but I'm not sure where he's meant to be playing, and I think he sort of messes up that team a little bit for me. But maybe that's another story. I like the boy Gray. I've liked him since I first saw him. You think what he did? In fact, the first time I saw him was July last year at Tynecastle against Hearts when he played centre half, and I thought, bloody hell, he's good. This is a midfield player. This is one for the older guys like Kev, Adrian, and I. When Gary Mabbott went back to centre half as a midfield player, and just looked like he'd played there all his life. And I think
Perriman did it.
Say that again.
Steve Perriman did it as well.
Well, Steve Perriman did it, but alongside a bigger man like Keith Osgood or somebody like that. But ultimately, I think his best position turned out to be right back. But I think the boy Gray's got everything. I really do, and I think Graham's mentioned something about Andy and Graham, something about Polina. I think the thing about Polina is he will give the other midfield players, and you maybe want to come on to this, the freedom to really go forward, particularly at the moment where we haven't got a natural 10. You could see Bentancur, whose natural position as an 8 is going further forward. Gray the same, probably Bergvall as well, as they see having more talent to go forward. Polina will give them all the freedom to do that. And I thought Gray was man of the match, and easily for me, I think as well, Brett.
I think Gray's a fantastic player. I mean, I love Gray, and I thought he's fantastic against Newcastle. I hate Newcastle because my ex-girlfriend was from Newcastle. So like naturally, yeah, you're not getting your McCallum 18 back if you listen to this. Anywho, I mean, I'm a bit upset because Archie Gray is going to be a world-class midfielder for England, which does bother me. So I hope he's injured for England but fit for Spurs. But, he's a fantastic player, and I will just share a small story with you. Me and my dad were in the hospitality section of Spurs, 4 years ago? And Gary Mabbott was there. And I had no clue who Gary Mabbott was. But we had a photo together, and then my dad told me who Gary Mabbott was. So there you go. John will enjoy that.
I would give it
If Tom was here, he'd be telling you Gary Mabbott went to his school, and I got a signed picture of him from that.
Okay. Yeah. Right, a collectible show. We might have to do a collectible show, right? Gray for me, yeah, because it's the second time we've seen him in midfield. I've been really impressed with Sarr pre-season as well, though. We know what you get with Bentancur. I think Sarr's showing another level now, and I think there's a lot more to come for him. He's still a bit of an enigma to a lot of fans because we don't know where he's going to be slotting, but Frank tends to like him. Frank likes him. So we'll see. Okay. I want your comments.
I think I agree with Graham about that. And I also think, correct me if I'm wrong, that because I keep seeing it different ways, that's the correct spelling of Palhinha. Palhinha. I think that's the right spelling of it. So
yeah, I think so.
Just
right, before we go on to the bore fest of the transfer window, I'll bring this up. Well, did you want to say something first, James?
I will say, I do like the fact we have another... I mean, I know he's Portuguese, but it's nice to have another South American adjacent player in the team because, welcome back, Eric Lamela. It's nice to have someone who, no matter how big the occasion, is going to kick someone's shins in. Every team needs one guy who is willing to fight over 50p. And I'm just happy that Pauline is there. We got Cuti Romero, I think we've got a few now.
I think we've got a few now.
Exactly. You need to have a few, for lack of a better phrase, dickheads in the team.
House FC.
And I like Lamela for the same reason, I must admit.
Yeah.
James, exactly. Actually, someone said earlier, your camera keeps going in and out of focus.
Yes, it does. I apologise. Well, blame John for buying such a cheap camera. He bought the camera, not me.
Ian thought he'd had too many whiskies. I think that's what he was.
Well, I was going to say that's what
right.
I've been drinking.
Okay.
But it's actually you I wish would go out of focus.
Right.
James.
On track. Sorry. Right, you can all come in on this. Frank's pre-season game management. Kev?
It's been pretty standard, hasn't it? I think making the subs when he's been making the subs. Making sure people are getting the game time they need, the minutes to get into the game. Changed it around a bit, given all the youngsters a bit of a run out towards the end of the games as well. Some people might have been a bit, when he played Vicario and Kinske half and half games, and Austin got a full game. But I think he's done pretty well actually with the management. He's not blown up or anything like that, has he? So I think all in all, it's been a good run out for him.
Ian, your take on him? Frank?
I mean, I think we haven't lost the game. Not that it matters much. I think we've only played well, really once. I think we were pretty good at Reading, but only one really good performance, and that was against Arsenal. Yeah. And you'd be up for that. You've got to give people minutes in their legs. You've got to try different things. The only thing I'm not wild about is he seems to want to play a 4-3-3. And I'm a little bit surprised about that. But if that's how he's going to play, fine. But for God's sake, let's have the players that will play that system. Because at the moment, I think we're woefully short. But if that's how he wants to play with Tottenham, great. Because it's much less of a transition for the players because it's a very similar system, albeit slightly different. The way he's adopting it than Ange played. The thing that most impresses me is the defensive organisation and how quickly he's got us defensively organised. That back four, not in possession, it suddenly becomes a back five. There were times when it was a line against Arsenal, and I think I may have mentioned this I may have mentioned it on Spurs when I was on Spurs Talk, and I may have mentioned it on here on Sunday, was that line of, drawing pictures, but this line of four, and then a line of three and a line of three. And there was very little gap between the back four and the front three. It's not like Ange's teams where it was so spaced out and there was so much room to play. There's no room to play between the lines, and it's actually exactly how you set up a team to play Pep. So when we go to Manchester City, just keep an eye on the lines and how close the lines are, because I expect that's exactly how we'll line up against City. Burnley's a different kettle of fish, and Paris Saint-Germain's the same as well. You don't want to give the Paris players room to play. But I've been really happy, and I think the progress has been very quick.
James, your take on?
I think if you're surprised that Frank showed a 4-3-3, then I think perhaps that Frank's entire management style will shock you. Frank played a 4-3-3 when he got promotion from the Championship with Brentford to the Premier League. That is obviously his preferred style of management. He shifted once Brentford were in the Premier League because he was pragmatic. And I mean, if you had to say how do Brentford play under Frank, in a few words, you probably say set pieces, long ball. Sorry, some chavs has his loud mic. There was a loud exhaust going in probably a terrible car. Long ball football. Ultimately, when he had his 4-3-3 in the Premier League, it was direct football, built, pass around the back, then find direct passes. Frank is an incredibly pragmatic manager. And if you go to a club like Spurs, which, let's be honest, we are a big club. We should be expected to dominate possession in like 80% of games, 85% of games. Other than City or, the club that's managed by a pedophile or, the Americans who have a million players, or Liverpool or Man United. I mean, they're a small club. Ultimately, we should be expecting to have the majority of the ball. He's ultimately attempting to instill that in his players, like he did when he was in the Championship with Brentford. I don't think that's particularly shocking. The one thing I will say that was I wouldn't say it's a surprise because I knew Frank would do this, but the one thing that's very nice to see is he tactically adapts to the situations, which Ange Postecoglou never did. It's here's how we play. Go give it a good, crack on, boys. Frank does make adjustments. He shouts, he makes adjustments, he tweaks. Ultimately, that's what Thomas Frank is about. He's about tactical adaptation. He's about trying to give the players the best possible opportunity to win the games. And he also is about trying to dominate the game in every single way, micro and macro. Frank isn't a defensive manager. He only played that way at Brentford for a couple of years because ultimately Brentford at that time had significantly inferior players to the majority of the Premier League. But now he's at Tottenham. He has significantly better players. And even his last season at Brentford, he had much better players. He can now try to play more possession-based football or controlling football. And I think that's how he's going to go forward.
How do you think Frank's done with the media in general and the fan base?
Oh, well, the media, I think, has been fine. There's been, obviously you had the Sonny bit, which probably took a lot of pressure off people asking him questions about other matters in there. But I mean, one of the things I noticed was that throughout the friendly games, the defensive formation for corners has changed. When we first started out in the first 3 games, and also against Arsenal, we were very much zonal. Against Newcastle, we were a mixture of zonal and man-to-man. So he changed it around for those ones. We were so zonal against Arsenal, we really were, and some other teams. And also, when we're pressing high up the pitch, we're more in a 4-2-4. Berryvale, as the guys on Spurs TV call him, was always pushing up into that front three to make a four when we were pressing Newcastle from the halfway line, sort of thing. So there's a lot of movement and adaptability, I think, going on in the formations. I did get a bit concerned against Newcastle when we were dropping back into the, it looked like the back four and the midfield three were merging into one line sometimes almost. But I'm sure that will sort itself out as they play a few more games together and they get a bit more used to how they're playing.
Ian, the media with Frank, fine.
The what with Frank?
The media and the fans' opinions of Frank so far on shows and stuff like that.
I think fine. I mean, there was look, it's going to be very different to how it was under Ange. Very different, completely different philosophy. But I think, I mean, he as well. I said this on one of our earlier shows that, this is a big step up for him as well, and people forget that. I mean, Ange at least had come from Celtic. I know it's a smaller league, but it's a huge football club. And in fact, you're much more in a goldfish in Glasgow when you're managing Celtic or Rangers than you ever are at Tottenham. So he's getting used to the attention and the numbers and what have you, the size of the training ground, the size of the stadium, which he'll get used to, and everything about it is like 10 times bigger than Brentford. But I'm really happy so far. As I say, we'll no doubt talk about transfers, and I am a little bit concerned and a little bit frustrated, albeit I know because I'm in touch with 2 or 3 ITKs that we're really working, but it is difficult. There's no doubt it's difficult to get the players in, but we've got Paulinho, who's going to make a big difference. We've got Kudos, who already looks a really good player. Danso, I know he was there on loan, as was Tell. Danso's a superb addition. Tell, jury's still out, but I think anybody that knows football thinks he's another one with a very high ceiling. We just need a couple of established players, maybe 3 established players. I know they'd like to get more than 3, but three established players. And we're cooking. It might all be very late in the window when the whole thing, you know what it's like with transfers. One transfer happens and there's a domino effect. Other transfers can come as a result of that. The same with, Leipzig apparently are talking, for example, to Elliott tonight. And that's one that's come out of left field a little bit. So we'll just have to see, Adrian. But so far so good.
James, are you confident Frank will cope with a game every 3 days?
Completely. I mean, Thomas Frank is one of those managers who, he took over Brentford. He was originally the assistant coach. Then he took the primary job. And, it was a challenge. He had setbacks and he dealt with it. My only real concern with Thomas Frank was more so how he would deal with certain players, like Guti Romero, Dejan Kulusevski, predominantly South American players, because he obviously has this very Scandinavian leadership style. But tactically, I'm not worried at all. I think that he is perfectly capable of adapting and dealing with all these issues. And, he led a promotion campaign with Brentford and they got to the EFL Cup final, the Carabao Cup final, sorry, swearing. He got to the Energy Drink Cup final in the same season. And they got to the playoffs. That's 60 games easily. And he managed a squad during that with significantly inferior players. I'm sure he can manage a Spurs squad in similar circumstances, albeit different circumstances. I'm sure he can manage that with better players. None of us expect us to win the Champions League. We want to give it a good go. We want to see if we can get to the semi-finals, quarterfinals, etc., etc. But none of us are sitting here going, if we don't win the Champions League, we're going to be upset. We want top 4. We want maybe an FA Cup or a EFL Cup and a decent crack at the Champions League. If we get to the semi-finals and we win an FA Cup and finish 3rd, we're all going to be saying that's a banging season.
Absolutely.
So, expectations are slightly tempered, and also he has significantly better players than he had at Brentford ever. Thomas Frank, I think, is very much a little bit like Mauricio Pochettino, and also Thomas Frank has the benefit that no recent Spurs manager has had since, I would say, perhaps Harry Redknapp, in that the young players at the team, or everyone at the team, has won a trophy. They believe that they're winners and that they can win more trophies. And that sort of belief feeds into itself. And you have to give Ange eternal credit for that, even if he's not the man to lead Spurs forward. He has at least instilled that little bit of belief in Spurs. Ultimately, I think Thomas Frank is a very, very good manager. And I mean, look, here's my personal hot take. If you put Pep Guardiola and Thomas Frank in charge of Stoke City, both of them in charge of Stoke City, Thomas Frank would do a lot better than Pep Guardiola would. So, this is it all really.
Kev, are you confident as well in our new manager?
As confident as I've been in any other manager we've had, I think, coming in the last 20 years. You know, it's a new start for us, but he's proven himself in the Premiership, hasn't he? Really, with Brentford, with their small budget and their small crowds. So, and he's someone who gets a rapport with the fans, or he did with the Brentford fans. I'm sure he'd do it with us as well in that way. So yeah, I'm reasonably, I'm happy he's there. Confident. Well, after 10 games, ask me again.
Yeah.
Okay. Ian, are you
Yeah. Look, when he was manager of Bromby, he started very slowly. I haven't got the numbers, but maybe like one of his first 10 games. When he went to Brentford, it was very, very similar. So you would hope that it wouldn't be the same when at Tottenham. But there's always a worry that, particularly if we don't get the reinforcements we need, or we don't get them bedded in early enough, that we might have a slow start. But sometimes you just have to pay. My serious worry is that he starts badly. We get to October, we're drifting around 12th in the league. Maybe we're out of the League Cup, God forbid, and we've lost 2 out of 3 Champions League games or something like that. And you go, what the heck? And then the fans start turning again, because our fans are really fickle. That would be my worry. But that's all the negatives. Let's not focus on the negatives. We've got a lot of good players in the club. People say, "Oh, the squad's crap" and what have you. The squad's not crap. There's a lot of very, very good players, and there's a lot of players with much higher ceilings than we've seen. Players like Gray with Bergvall, Odebear, I know, is impressed enormously. Tell is the same. Kudos looks a really, really great player. So Paulinho will give us solidity. So I certainly don't think anyone should be panicking in any shape or form.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way he plays a narrow midfield pivot, and I like the way in some of these games that the wingers, unlike under Ange, won't always hug the touchline. They'll actually be on the corners of the penalty area, which means they're in the close space and narrowing the distance between them and the number 9. Because I see so many teams playing football whereby their number 9 is totally isolated, and you've got to put a pinpoint cross into that player for him to get a chance off or have a shot or something. James, you want to come on?
Let me put this to you. Let's say, hypothetically, we were about to play Brentford and Thomas Frank's Brentford manager, and we had any of our past 6-7 managers, right? Mourinho, Conte, and whoever, right? Would you feel confident? Would you feel confident going away to Brentford? Let's say it's the EFL Cup semi-final, first leg away. Would you feel confident we could get a result? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Simple question.
Yes.
Really? Would you?
Yeah, I would have
Really?
James. Yeah,
sure, because we did it, didn't we? Against Brentford almost. But yeah, I would, because you've got to feel confident if you've got to the semi-final and you're playing a team like Brentford, who are in a Premiership, but they are they're punching perhaps above their weight a little bit. You've got to feel confident you're going to beat them, aren't you?
I feel like you're forgetting the fact that we struggled against Morecambe
Oh no, I'm not forgetting those. We struggle against everyone, especially those non-league teams. Okay, yes, but we have got past all that lot to get to the semi-final. You know.
Okay, Kev. This is a hypothetical. My point more so is to point out: would you feel totally confident playing Brentford away with Thomas Frank as their manager? Would you not be a little bit afraid of the fact that they're going to play very pragmatic football and counter us? This thought exercise is more to prove that Thomas Frank is a very good pragmatic manager.
What would have
Stop
worried me
disproving my point.
What would have worried me about playing Brentford was their fast starts. When they had that period, didn't they? Last season, where they were scoring in the first 2 minutes of every game.
Yeah, and who was responsible for that?
So quite. There you go. So yes, that would have worried me, but I would have hoped that whoever's managing you would have seen that and be ready to counter it. Although I know with Spurs, the Spurs, it never really happened, especially when we used to play three at the back. We just couldn't cope with playing three at the back under various managers. We just had no idea how to do it at all. So, but I'd still be confident. Yeah, of course I would. But then again, I'm a Spurs fan, so I'm optimistically confident rather than pessimistically, pessimistically confident.
We'll move on. We're going to move on from hypotheticals because I prefer facts. Hypotheticals, we just go around. No, we just go around in circles. I mean, like it's anywhere. Latest transfer rumours. I hate the transfer window, but Ian, this guy's going.
Allegedly,
he's been transfer listed.
Hopefully,
I mean, I think this is one of those ones where, and this is part of the problem. You look at Chelsea yesterday. One of the guys, they've got rid of. I can't remember the one they've sold, and then they've got rid of. What's his name? Dewsbury Hall.
Dewsbury Hall
to Everton for £25 million. I mean, it's like, how on earth do they manage to do that? How do they squeeze £25 million out of Everton for a player that, I mean, in my opinion, is £10 million on a good day? So they keep managing to do it. We're looking for less than that for Bissouma. And Bissouma, to me, is a better player than Dewsbury Hall. In fact, he's a far better player than Dewsbury Hall. But getting players out the door, one, to get some money in, but secondly, to free up squad space. It's proving a problem time after time after time. And this is another one. There's talk West Ham might be interested. But at the end of the day, he might not want to go. If you could tell me we can get Paqueta, give them Bissouma for 45-50 million pounds, I would do that deal tomorrow. But
well, he's down to his last year, the same as Bentancur. Kev, was you a fan of Bissouma? I mean, I was impressed the first 10 games of that season, but after that, he's done nothing in 3 years, has he?
No, the thing he was best at was coming onto the pitch and getting booked within 5 minutes. I was at the West Ham game at the London Stadium, sitting in amongst the West Ham fans, and he started off like a train and then got booked, and that's him. That was him out of the game. He just couldn't do what he wanted to do because he's already been booked. And he no control really. Every now and again, he'd have a good game because someone was playing alongside him who was having a good game. I think someone mentioned it the other day when Bentancur was having a good game. If Bissouma was next to him, then he looked better. But Bentancur didn't play that many good games for me last season anyway. But I think he just hasn't been the player that he was at Brighton for us. So in that respect,
no, never made it. No, there are players that come to bigger clubs and just can't cope with being at a bigger club. They're better off being a bigger fish in a small pond. And see this, not just with Tottenham, but with all kinds of big clubs. Players get there and can't hack it. So it's a pity because I think he's got a mega talent. He's a mega talent, but no.
Discipline's a problem, though, James, isn't it? He got 3 suspensions in that season, that first season.
I don't think Bissouma has any talent. I think he's terrible.
And I mean, if he needs to lift the airport, I'll give it to him for free. The heir to Moussa Dembele, I heard someone say he was once. Really? Is he? Did Moussa Dembele cut off his feet before he retired? I mean, that's the only way he could ever be the heir to Moussa Dembele. Sorry, Tanguy Ndombele showed more skill, and I have words to say about Tanguy Ndombele. Basuma is dreadful, and I hope he leaves. I don't care. Take a 30 million loss. He's crap.
I think that's unfair. And I will say one thing. I was in Bilbao. Basuma, for me, there was a lot of contenders. Basuma was man of the match for me. I think he was so disciplined.
This is the issue, though, Ian. It's consistency.
Showing up for 90 minutes doesn't prove you're a good player. I can show up for 90 minutes.
No, you can be quality and inconsistent. I mean, I've seen lots of fan base tell me if someone's regularly injured, suddenly they're no longer a good player. I mean, like we've had critiques of Romero, right, for example, but last season Romero played 3 times as many minutes as VDV, but no one complained about VDV being injured because the fans love him.
To give a slightly more to elaborate a little bit on why I don't rate Basuma is I think he's very susceptible to what I can only refer to as a brain fart. He can play a brilliant game for 60 minutes, really good defensively, play brilliant passes, and then his brain's going to go poof and he's going to give the ball away. And that brain fart could lose us a game. Very similar to Emerson Royale or Kieran Trippier. I mean, admittedly, Kieran Trippier in his last season had an injury with us, but I just don't think you can trust those sorts of players who at any moment could cock up and cost us a game.
Okay, we'll move on. I've got a list in, but if you've got any others, these are just the 19 we've been linked with. I mean, there's obviously more. We've probably been linked with about 200 since this window started. I'll go through the list in a minute and give you my opinions on, or I can go through it now, actually. I mean, there's nothing concrete in these, like the windows. I mean, I find a lot of these so-called, media reporters, even Fabrizio Romano, they're always clever after the fact. The days of having a spy in a camp giving you information, I think clubs are really more professional now and they've tightened up there. They do their best to give you hints, and we get hints about what positions we're looking for, not necessarily the players we're going to bring in. Well, we know Hayden Hackney wants to come because Ipswich offered 20 mil for him and he's waiting for Spurs, apparently, right? Xavi Simons, we don't know. Garnacho's rumoured to want to go to Chelsea. Good. I don't want him, but you guys might. Grealish again, don't really want him, although the need for someone like Grealish now, Maddison's injuries has increased. Paqueta, yes, I would take him. Mainu, good player, 20 years of old. I don't want another player from fresh out of the maternity ward. McAtee, City are not getting rid of him. They only want a loan from out there. Elliott, to me, at Liverpool, cracking player in the under-21s this year. They want too much money for him. Vissa, I haven't got a clue what's happening there because we're linked with others, which you come on to. Callum Window at Rennes, not sure what's happening with him. Mikutadze at Lyon, they're skint, so he's obviously in the frame, as all their players are. Moani's back in the frame again, isn't he? Diblin's been mentioned recently. I don't think this season. Guay's interesting because if you believe a lot of the latest rumours, we're in for a centre-back, which is a bit of a struggle to get your head around, especially if Frank plays a 4-3-3. And as he's been playing a 4-3-3 all pre-season, I'd be surprised if he went for extra centre-backs and started playing a back three, but that's just me. Caicedo at Barcelona, brilliant young midfielder, can play in all the positions, but he's only 21. Conor Gallagher, again, not for me. Just because he's ex-Chelsea, I don't want him. I'm biased Spurs fans. I don't want him. Sell all your dross off to Arsenal, you know what I mean, Chelsea, you know what I mean? So Lookman's interesting. His numbers are really good at Atalanta, and he's on the transfer list. Araujo's centre-half at Barcelona. He's up in the frame. He's about 4th, 5th choice. And now apparently Kim Min-jae's 27, 28 now, and Bayern want to get rid of him. So, Ian, comments? Any you want to add to that as well?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm speaking to a couple of people who claim at least to know, and they got a pretty good record. So let me go through what I know and what I can repeat. Hackney, yes, he's waiting on Tottenham. We do not have an imperative to sign him now, having signed Polinia. It may be that that's very much a last day of the season. We'll buy with a loan back. I don't see him coming. This is a guy that's, they want £20 million, but he's never played Premier League football. So I don't see this as being the saviour. You've left Wharton off the list, and Wharton appears to be dead at the moment. Whether that gets revived or not, I don't know. I think if there's an opportunity, that may come about. Simmons is the really interesting one, because we have put a proposal to him. The view is that Chelsea is his first option, but they're also talking to Garnacho. So if they're getting Garnacho, do they want Simmons as well? Is Simmons their first option? If they take Simmons as the first option, do they want Garnacho? Do either of them want to hang around and say, we don't want to be swapping game time with each other? But Simmons is the one that we've definitely chased hard. I haven't heard anything about Grealish, but there's a lot of people that think, with what's happened, that we should put an offer in for Grealish, and I think that's possible. The problem with Grealish is obviously wages. He's on £300,000 a week. But he would do the job. Paqueta, we've talked about Paqueta. There was talk earlier that Paqueta wants to leave West Ham, and West Ham are happy for him to go. So that could come about. Mainu, I've got nothing. McAtee, nothing. Elliott, there's talk. He's talking to Leipzig tonight. So whether that's something that will come about, I know. All I will say is what I was told, that the figures that we've been quoted by Liverpool were £50 million plus. We're not going to entertain that. Wissa, that's one to watch, I suspect, because Newcastle look like they're looking at other targets. And if Brentford are happy to let him go for the right price, I think he's one we should jump at. Calamendo, Mikadesi, I don't know anything about that. Moani, I've got nothing. Dibbling, we're interested, but Everton, I think the price is 45 million plus add-ons, and even they've balked at that. So I suspect nothing's that. Gui, nothing. Gallagher, I doubt it. Lookman, I think he wants to go to Milan, and nothing on the others. So look, everybody's waiting. I said earlier, everybody's waiting for somebody to make a move, and it is like dominoes. If someone takes that player, then that player becomes free and what have you, and it moves. It might move quickly, it might not. I rather thought that the Simmons thing would be done and dusted by the end of the weekend, because he had a choice then between Tottenham and Chelsea. But at the moment, he's not made a choice, and as long as he's not made a choice, then we're still in the running. But the view is that Chelsea are his first option. But as one of the people I'm talking to said, you might have to end up with the sloppy seconds, but that's the way sometimes of life.
Am I the only one who actually really rates Grealish? I feel like
him as well.
I feel like under Pep Guardiola, he's been forced into a very specific role. And look, Pep Guardiola's tactics are anti-football. And I mean, if Johan Cruyff could see what Pep Guardiola's playing, he would probably shoot him. He'd be spinning his grave. Rest in peace, Johan Cruyff. It's not Cruyff, it's Cruyff, apparently. Garnacho might be a great football player, but he has a terrible ego, and he just generally seems like someone I quite like to glass, so he can piss off. Grealish, I really rate Grealish. I think he's a much better football player than he's been given credit for. I like Paqueta. I really like Paqueta. Mainu, look, for the right price, Mainu, I think he'd be a fantastic addition to the squad. I think he's one of the only Man United players who would actually improve us. McAtee, I've seen some people who are really big on McAtee. So, sure, why not? Harvey Elliott, I'm not big on him. I look down this list and I think, look, Grealish, for the right deal, yes. Pay him £300 a week, right?
James, just on Grealish. Sorry, just on Grealish because this is important to me because it's been a bit of a bugbear of mine for the first time I ever did a podcast show. Right? Is he going to replace Son's goals even though Son had a bad season? We need forwards who can score goals. This is my argument. Always been my argument. The front three have to score. If
Grealish creates goals for Solanke, then that replaces Son's goals, right? Yes. I think the issue is we have been blessed with Harry Kane and Son Heung-min, two of the greatest forwards of our generation, of this generation of football players. Does anyone disagree with that?
No.
And I think it's virtually impossible to replace them. And I think that, it's why I said when Solanke joined, we're all going to think Solanke is a bit mediocre because we're all comparing him mentally to Harry Kane, even though that's not really fair to do, because Harry Kane is the greatest striker of probably the past 20 or 30 years. I mean, you're comparing him to the Luis Suarez or Robert Lewandowski, right? And Son Heung-min, I mean, who are you comparing him to? Like, if you go back far enough, Ryan Giggs, maybe? Eden Hazard? Gareth Bale? Those are the names you're comparing him to, right? Those players don't come along very often. I think more so to the point, Son was on a downward trajectory. Jack Grealish, he's 29. He can contribute in certain areas. I don't necessarily think he costs a lot of money for Man City. His wages might be quite high, but if we could promise him significant game time, and I don't think he's one of those people who's going to demand to be the main man. I genuinely think he's one of those people who just wants to play football. So, I think we could perhaps revive his career. And he's not necessarily going to replace Son's goals, but he's going to be a positive influence in the goals and assist numbers. And maybe that's what spurs Solanke to score 20 goals next season. Equal question. Brennan Johnson was crucial to Ange's tactical plan. Is Brennan Johnson going to score 20 goals next season? Probably not. How do we replace Brennan Johnson's goals? With Odegaard? I do think to some point it's a bit nebulous to suggest how do we replace XYZ goals. I think it's more about how do we create a front line with multiple options who can be competitive and have good chance creation and finishing. We have Dominic Solanke, we have Dejan Kulusevski, we have Odegaard, we have Tell, we have Madison who's injured, we have Bergvall. James Grealish would be a fantastic addition to that. We have Brendan Johnson even. We even have Richarlison, who I know we don't all rate, but he's decent aerially. He did score 10 goals a couple of seasons ago. He can be a threat for us. I think it's more about having options and how do we utilize those options, because ultimately Thomas Frank is the kind of manager who will say, okay, look, we have Solanke and Richarlison available up front. I'm gonna make a plan to get the best out of those guys.
Kev, are you a fan of Grealish? Do you think?
I'll take him on loan. I think especially as Madison, we've lost Madison. I think Grealish has always been on the cusp of coming to us, hasn't he? We could have taken him when he was cheap, but Mr. Levy wouldn't bank the money. I have that list. I'm quite liking the look of Notin Concreti actually from all of those, but yeah, I mean it's all. If we got any of those, we'd probably some people would love them, some people would hate them. So it's as Ian says. I think we just got to wait for see how things pan out in the next couple of weeks.
I'll comment on a couple of things if I can. I mean, there you go. No thanks to Grealish. I would absolutely love to have Grealish because I think he's got things that we just don't have, and we need to get into the squad somehow. And then there's that from Spurs 1. don't want Grealish anywhere near. And then there was another one. If Grealish comes to top, no, that's you again. Is the protest to start up again? I can't agree with that.
Can't agree with that.
I mean, there, you see, there's another perspective. Grealish can win loads of free kicks, and Frank is working well on our set pieces. That's something I hadn't thought about. Grealish, look at the bottom line, and I'm going to go with something else that Jose said. Ian, trouble is we end up with sloppy fourths, and that's a really good point. And I think from what I'm hearing is we won't be going in for sloppy fourths. If we can't get sort of first, second choices, we won't just be squandering the money on junk. So, for example, the comment about Garnacho. Look, Chelsea apparently want them both. If you're one of those players, you're thinking, well, if they sign him, where do I play? And they've got, how many other players do they play next? How many other have they got that can play left wing? Yeah. I've actually lost track. So you go, well, where's my game time coming? I would take Garnacho. He might have some attitudes, but that can get knocked out of him. I don't think he's playing at a very good football club. I think it's dysfunctional from top to bottom. When he came on,
rate's 1 in 6.
I mean,
good wide player strike rates consistently used to be 1 in 4. Yeah. These are about 1 in 6. And
let me talk about Garnacho, because I know he's maybe a bit immature, and I know Frank has a no dickheads policy. But when Garnacho came on in Bilbao with 15, 20 minutes to go, that was the one time I feared they might score. I mean, that was one time I thought they might score. He's got something about him, Garnacho. So if he was our second choice behind Simmons, I wouldn't be that upset.
I don't disagree that he obviously has some talent. I mean, he has less talent than Aaron Lennon. Obviously, though, the modern winger is a rare sight in modern football. In regards to Jack Grealish, if Jack Grealish wanted to come here, or even Garnacho, like if Garnacho could swallow his pride and all his ego and all of that, which is a huge ask, yes, he definitely has talent as a football player. I'm just not convinced that he could do that. Personally, I think Jack Grealish is much more likely to do that. Look, if Garnacho said, "Look, I'm going to be humble. I'm going to come to Spurs. I really want to play for Spurs. I really want to prove myself, be a team player." Yeah, 100% take him. But I just don't think, from everything I've seen from him, that he's the kind of person to do that. I think he's the kind of person who's just a bit of a twat. Jack Grealish, I think, is much more likely to do that solely because he's 29. You know, he's won trophies, he's got medals. And, you know, if Thomas Frank says, "Look, you could be a very important part of the team who's in the Champions League. We're going to be pushing for trophies. Maybe not the Premier League, but we're going to be pushing for the FA Cup, League Cup. We're going to have deep runs in the Champions League. We're going to be top 4. Come here. I can't promise you what role you'll play, but you'll play a number of roles. And, you know, your next 3-4 years could be teaching, mentoring some of the best players in the world." If he would say, "Yeah, I'm fully up for that," 100%. My big issue is the attitude of these players. I'm not denying the talent of players like Garnacho. My big issue is I don't think they have the correct attitude, and I'd much rather lose out on a player, even if they are talented, because they have the wrong attitude, because I don't want twats at Spurs.
Yeah, fine. With Maddison, we've only got 7 homegrown. That's why I put the Gueye one up. And although I don't feel we need a centre-back, because we haven't decided whether Vaskovic is going out on loan or not, right? So, and Davies is coming to the twilight of his career. We don't know if he might even go before the transfer window's open. So, so this is why I wouldn't be surprised if we went for Gueye. He's got a year left on his contract. His price has dropped, and he would be a good player to get in for about 40 mil, even though I think we need to spend that money elsewhere.
Would Grealish count as homegrown? Presumably he would, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
I think Garnacho does as well. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I'm sure we'll sign someone, even if it's Sorokin, who until I think last season's transfer window, we had a buyback clause for like 8 million. So Daniel Levy masterclass once again, overpaying for a mediocre left back. I'd much rather we play over the odds for a player who can actually improve us than just to fill a quota. I mean, the quota rules are the quota rules are nonsense anyway. But The club will deal with it.
Kev, would you be averse to getting Guay in at a good price?
Do we need any more centre halves? I know it's saying that he's looking for another centre half.
No.
But yeah, I wouldn't be averse to it. I suppose he's a good player, but is he going to start games? Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be too averse to him coming. I'd much rather, if we're looking to boost our homegrown, I'd much rather we went for Grealish. In that sort of mode. But as James says, these bloody rules, they're all over the place. Everyone sort of struggles with them, don't they? And they're different for the Premier League, different for the Champions League. So you can't win whichever way you're going to do it. You're going to lose out somewhere along the line with the amount of foreign players that there are in all teams.
Right, I'm just going to lob a banter grenade at Ian. Ian.
Yeah.
Would you
I
take?
put that one up.
Okay, fine. Yeah, he is. He's 20 as well. He's young as well. So you get a backlash from half the fan base on that. I like the look of the player, but look, me and my oven ready. Nice little banter grenade lobbed at you, Ian.
I put you on the stage. That's a 5-minute ban, Adrian.
Listen, right, banter grenade at you, right? Would you take? Would you take?
Ban for using oven ready? It's a 5-minute ban.
Ian, would you take Rodrigo for Romero? Nice, easy question.
Oh, are you winding me up?
I said no. I said it's a banter grenade. Would you take Rodrigo for Romero?
Yeah. I would love to see Rodrigo at the club. I don't see it happening. None of the
I don't think anyone does.
Suggests it's realistic, but we have inquired. So sometimes you wonder if people keep things under the radar, because the last thing you want is things getting out. But Rodrigo is a needle shifter. In fact, Rodrigo is a 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. That kind of needle move. You agree, James?
Yeah, completely. I mean, look, he may have issues in terms of work rate, etc., but he's one of those marquee signings that, his ability speaks for itself, even if I think the modern generation of players are pretty mediocre in comparison to Gareth Bale and Messi and Ronaldo, whatever. If you sign someone like that, and keep in mind, indulge me for a moment. Close your eyes, pretend. You're a Spurs player. You're Archie Gray. You've just won the Europa League. Thomas Frank's come in, and he's a lovely Danish guy. And you sign Rodrigo from Real Madrid. You're going to feel like you've just won a trophy. You're going to feel like you're going to believe you're a winner already. You signed a player from Real Madrid, a great player. You're going to feel like you can win more trophies. Are you not?
Yeah.
And
he's a fantastic player.
Yeah, good boosts to the
it's going to be
to the dressing room are great.
And
there has been contact.
He's a good player.
Ian was going on the first 2, 3, 4s, as was Jose. But the only information I've got again is that talks for Rodrigo. One, you've got to see if a player wants to come, and I don't think he wants to come. So you've got that. But then apparently our next target below Rodrigo is Ademola Lookman.
I think it's a crime we didn't get Eze, considering the links we have to his agency and his pretty reasonable release clause. We should have just paid that. We were willing to pay 60 million for Morgan Gibbs-White. We should have just paid 70 for Eze and just got it done pretty early in the window.
But he doesn't want to come. But he doesn't want to come. Well, no, because if we've got 60 odd million to go for Morgan Gibbs-White, which we haven't spent, right, and rumours of even more money on top of that, right, then initially Parish wanted 68 mil with the add-ons for Eze. Then suddenly for a player he didn't want to sell, he then says, I'll take 320 mil payments for him. Well, Spurs would know that. There's been contact. The player obviously doesn't want to come. He wants to go to Arsenal.
To Arsenal. Morgan Gibbs-White was convinced to stay at Nottingham Forest. So maybe we need to consult with Mr. Marinakis about how to retain players. But, maybe he knows something we don't. But, we didn't make an attempt. And then you look at other players like Rodrigo, seems a little wee bit unrealistic, even if I love Rodrigo, and that'd be a great signing for us. It does seem like our transfer policy's been a little bit scattergun. Look, I love the signings you made so far. Kudos, fantastic player. Even if my mate who is a West Ham fan thinks he's not very good. I mean, he's going to a real football club who win trophies, so why would he think he's any good? And Paulinho, great football player. It does seem that we've been stalled a little bit by Mr. Marinakis, the heroin dealer. By the way, if anyone wants to sue anyone, James Williams, come to court, prove I'm wrong. Don't find anyone else. Don't find anyone else liable. I'm so responsible for that accusation. But Rodrigo, great player. I would very much like him, but I try not to worry too much about transfer rumours.
It's not happening, is it? It's not happening.
Look, we beat Arsenal. And I will just say, my last point I will say is that Mikel Arteta doesn't like referring to friendlies as friendlies. He prefers to refer to them as tests. So he lost his test against Spurs.
We got a few more bits to carry on with. Ian, homegrown, doesn't seem to be much of an issue. I've took Bissouma off this list. So we've got 15. We can safely say Solomon and Gill will go, which will take us down to 13 now.
Got out of that for a start.
And Son, of course, that takes us down to I haven't updated this. Obviously, I do apologise. Right, so you've got 3 of these off of here. So that takes us down to 12 foreign quota. Now, at the moment, we've only got Austin, who's academy trained for 3 years. So we'd have to take 3 off the 17 for Europe anyway. But that's 14. We've got less now. We can actually bring in a foreign player, and still it won't affect us. And we make the difference up with the academy B list, so it won't mean we're short of players. So that's looking better.
Yeah, I mean these numbers they get confusing for a bit as well. But and the other thing is with us looking for another centre half. I mean that keeps coming out. I can't help thinking Romero's going. Because if they let Vuskovic go out on loan, which I'm surprised at, but at the end of the day, you've got to trust the people that manage the club and the coaches to know what's best for the players and what's best for the club. You absolutely have to trust them. But if we're looking for another established centre-half, I mean, Dragusin probably won't be in the European squad because he's not going to be ready till October, November time, is he? So... that would free up another space at least in the squad before Christmas, because you're surely not going to include Dragusin, are you?
He's kicking a ball again, though. He's kicking a ball again. I don't think he's that. He might be a month or 6 weeks into the season, but I think it's a question. I mean, they'll probably add him if we just need him to make up the numbers because we're in a better position. Then we'll add him anyway, same as Kulu.
I mean, I was going to say Kulusevski is another one that's on a long-term. I'm just going to check up on something. Let someone else talk. Ben Jacobs was on Last Word on Spurs tonight. I'm just going to find out if there's anything that's that he said that's of any interest. I haven't picked up on that.
I'm going to take Son off this list. How dare I make a mistake on my show, eh? When I go into everything in meticulous detail. Kev, what do you think? Because the issue before was when some weren't going with the others was the fact that any foreign player comes in, they're going to want Champions League football, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they got it now, haven't they? So I think that list proves it. Then we've got the room to say to people you'll be in the squad, whatever happens.
Yeah. There's a cartoon that Blaine, our very own Blaine, has posted with a whole massive line of people, like 200 in the queue. on a window that says players Ben Jacobs has linked Spurs to tonight. And then there's another window, players Spurs are actually interested in. And there's one man in the queue. You have to see it if you're in any of the chat groups.
I've got it up as well.
You've got it up,
Right.
Yeah.
I think this is a good time to plug our channel. For those of you new watching, 130 of you watching us now, which is excellent on Tuesday evening. We do, our shows do go out Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 o'clock. We've changed, me and Ellen agreed to change the time on Sunday to 9 o'clock. You know, people at work, so his shows will go out at 9. That'll suit him when he's out in Spain because he'll be an hour forward from us anyway. So, yeah, that's that. You can find us down below in the ribbon, which is spinning along. We do have a Facebook group with 14,500. We do have a Facebook page. And we do have a Spurs Diehards XCOM account, which has got about 3,200 on it. It hasn't been going that long either. If you like our content, please subscribe to the channel. There's a little YouTube subscribe button that you can see and we can't in the bottom right-hand corner. Leave a comment to our comments. Big up to all of you in the chat. Big up to all of you watching us on various platforms. Yeah, thanks for your comments and your support. And with that, I don't know if any of you see this. These drive me nuts. Contrived PR.
I haven't seen it, and I need to see it, Adrian. I haven't seen it yet. I gather it's really interesting.
No, I haven't watched it, listened to it yet either, so I can't really say anything about it.
Mind if you stays, my opinion, David Clark. I want us to get players that we can bring in a quality that we can give a 5-year contract to, you know. So, and there are lots of good quality players out there. Chelsea can't buy everyone out there, and neither can Liverpool or Man City. And I wonder how tight the purse strings are because Newcastle are struggling to bring players in. So, yeah. Right. Okay, we won't talk about the interview. Good, as far as I'm concerned. Now, Thursday, buying away. Kickoff is at 5:30, so remember that because it's not an 8 o'clock kickoff or whatever. Yeah. So we'll have a little bit of fun here, guys. Predicted lineup. Who's in goal? We go for it in bits rather than do it all. You know what I mean? So
I think he'll go with Vicario.
Back to Vicario, yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Left back with you, Doggy, still out, I assume.
Spence.
Yeah, Spence. Let's do the pair of centre backs.
I think it'd be Romero and Van der Ven to start.
Romero and Van der Ven.
Yeah, Romero's captain now. Looks like he's going to play. I think they're trying to use a bit of psychology to get him sign a new contract. So he's got 2 years to go. Yeah. Right back.
Porro, obviously.
Clark wasn't bad in his day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kev played right back. Porro.
Now it gets interesting with the midfield. Now we've got Paulina in our ranks, guys. What you saying? Pick a midfield pivot and we'll go to a 10 afterwards, yeah?
Will he start? Will he start Paulino against his host club? Won't have played too much practice time with us, so he might not start him. I don't think. So I think we could be looking at the midfield three as being Bentancur, Sarr, and Bergvall to start anyway.
I'm not sure. I think that's probably the area where it's most difficult, if I'm honest.
It is. Yeah.
I think. I mean, if I took 5 players: Polina, Bergvall, Gray, Sarr, and Bentancur, and say you could perm any 3 from that.
Yeah.
But I'm. It's the one area I'm not sure about because we don't have a natural 10. We don't know whether Polina's ready for it yet. I suspect whether if you want me to gamble on it, God, it's so difficult. If you're going to play Polina, do you then need Bentancur as well? It's a way to Bayern Munich. It's Bentancur and Gray, Bentancur and Sarr. I couldn't tell you. You can perm any three from those five. You know,
I think all five are play at some point. Some point during the game.
That's the point. That's exactly the point, Kev. Exactly the point.
Yeah, I can see. Normally, you bring a player in like this, like Paulinho. You bring him on a second half and all that. But the caveat to that is, well, hang about. You've been away. Bayern have been on pre-season. You'll be match fit anyway. We need to see you in that position and someone playing alongside you, just to see how it works with the other particular player as well. So to me, I'm saying he starts, and I'm probably totally wrong because and my reason is based on the fact that we need him to start. We need him to be in both these games before the season starts. You know, then we've got Wednesday against PSG. Right. So
yeah, that's
I'm
why
going on what I think we need, and I get the argument that he may not start. You know.
Yeah, that's why I think he won't start, because I think he will start against PSG.
Artisan, I don't think there's any reason why
it's a friendly. It doesn't matter.
Playing a friendly against,
especially if Bayern say you can anyway.
He wanted to play on Thursday, so I don't think there's any way. But I mean, I think remember we've got the Bayern game. Fine, but the next game we play, I presume they may play a behind closed doors friendly or something on, maybe on Saturday afternoon or Sunday. But this is the team that's going to play for the Super Cup, and then the first league game. So we're getting to a point where, without any signings, we're going to have to play the side that's going to be kicking off two very important games, followed by Manchester City away in the league.
Yeah,
I'm with you on playing them both, Paulina and Bentancur, because there's no reason why we couldn't give Bentancur a rest in the pre-season. And because Sarr's been so good pre-season, and he's looked good from the end of last season, I'm going Paulina, Sarr and Bergvall. That would be my three. Because Sarr and Bergvall, they can both have the opportunity of getting forward when they want to.
Yeah.
Right? They can switch it.
I mean, it will certainly work. There is so much flexibility. I wasn't wild about having a six, but I absolutely understand why people were desperate for us to get a midfield player like that. And there's not many better in the world, and you've got him on loan, but whatever with an option that doesn't really break the bank.
I mean, I posted I posted videos of him, Ian, and I was looking back to what it was. If we get the Paulina that was at Fulham, we've got one cracking player here. I'm telling you now. I ain't worried about his age. You don't have to do. I mean, even if he got older and he got a bit slower, the role he plays, he can sit a bit deeper and not run around. I mean, the two places where they don't, 4 places in the field where you don't get players able to burn their butt off.
Adrian, the point I wanted to make there was that if you've got Paulina really sticking, I mean, almost like a stick goalie, if anyone remembers what they were. You have got the flexibility to allow, whether it's Sarr, Bergvall, Bentancur or Gray, to really go forward, to come as 2 8s, an 8 and a 10 or whatever, to really help supplement the forward line. I think that will give them the freedom, massive amount of freedom, and allow at least one of the fullbacks to really advance as well. So, yeah.
He made the most tackles in the 23-24 season. Yeah. And I was listening to people saying, oh, but, we should have got Luiz because he can't progress. He doesn't progress the ball. And they were saying he can't pass, but he can pass. Go and watch the videos. Is all I'm saying to people. Go and watch the videos. You don't have to progress the ball and add progressive carries where people are trying to tackle you if you lay the ball off before some player gets to you anyway. So, and he's got a good, and he pops up with a few goals as well, from set plays and things like that. I think he's a fantastic signing. I think him and Kuda so far, I mean, under Levy, we didn't know what we were going to get when Bentancur and Kulu come in. I think this will be our best window we've ever had under this chairman. It will be, because we know we're going to bring quality in, right? More quality in. And we all seem to sniff there's money there, So, yeah. So, okay, that's the midfield. Up front, no news on whether Solanke's fit. So,
I think it'll probably be Kudus, Richarlison and Tell.
I think it will be kudos for Carlson and Tell.
Hmm.
See, that's the point.
To
I
start.
think we've agreed on the goalkeeper, we've agreed on the back four, we've
It's the
agreed on the
midfield.
front three in the absence of any further signings. But
Yeah.
we don't have. But the midfield remains an issue.
Well, it's not an
Oh,
issue. It's a good issue. Having those five to choose from and rotate around. It's just it is finding the best combination, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
It's not a bad issue. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it could be Teller Odebert, and I think now that Sonny's gone, he might want to have a look at Odebert again on the left as well as Tell on there. They could play a half each or something. I know it's buying away, but yeah, I think it could be that. Yeah.
Just to,
I mean, then we're leaving out Johnson as well. We might he'll probably get minutes because he scored.
I imagine, yeah. I mean, there'll be mass substitutions again, won't there? At 60 minutes or whatever. So, or maybe even some at half time as well. Because we won't want to knacker people out before the PSG game, and especially as you say, it's only the ridiculous thing that we're playing on the Saturday in the Premier League after a Wednesday game when we could have easily played on the Sunday. Why we're not on the Sunday is beyond me, to be honest. But there we go.
James, we're just doing a predicted lineup on Bayern, and we're going to close, right? So,
I would just like to say, no, you're not drunk. My microphone, my camera is broken, and it took me 10 minutes to fix it. So the slant is because the fact that half of the camera broke. I may or may not have destroyed it in a blind rage, but you can see me again.
You can see you, whereas we can only see quarter of Ian's head most of the time.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I'm trying to find some big scoop for you tonight, and I can't find it.
Ian's got a habit of doing that on shows, Kev. He looks like
I know, he does, yeah.
Oh, you know what I mean?
Xavi Simmons says
Kilroy was here.
His plane's en route from Leipzig to Madrid to pick up Rodrigo because Levy doesn't mind the 140 million transfer fees, but he'll be buggered if he's paying for two private jets. So, but no, I've got nothing like that.
Anything else you guys got at all?
No.
I mean, I could talk for about 2 hours about how Gareth Bale.
We can talk in the back room. That's not a problem. Well, I want to thank my guests, very informed guests, and I want to thank the 120 odd of you that are still staying with us on various platforms and watching us. Thank you all again for your comments, your questions. Big up to everyone who watches us on playback, because we do get a few subscriptions when people come to the YouTube channel. Yeah, like I said, you can find us below on this ribbon, this ticker going along here. So, yeah. So with that, guys, I'll see you guys in the back room. Thanks to everyone again, and I will play you out with something new again, and you're going to get something new every week.
We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs Diehards heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs Diehards heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs Diehards heart and soul. Really white and navy blue. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs Diehards heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue.